So Final Fantasy XIV has had a bunch of crossover events. Monster Hunter, Final Fantasy XV, Yokai Watch, and even Fall Guys. And I think the one that I would be the most hyped for, and I think I speak for a lot of people when I say this, a Kingdom Hearts crossover would be one of the best ideas I think they could ever do. I think a huge portion of the Kingdom Hearts fandom overlaps with the 14 fandom, seeing as they are both made by Square Enix, and even a lot of the Final Fantasy XIV story is very similar to Kingdom Hearts in a lot of ways that I won't get into because of spoiler reasons. I mainly wanted to focus on what type of content from the Kingdom Hearts franchise that could be included as in-game items for 14 players to unlock. Now just to be clear, if this ever does happen, it would most likely have to be canon to the Kingdom Hearts franchise, as the director of the entire series, Tetsuya Nomura, is very particular about how crossovers are handled. At least that was his reasoning for why it took so long for Sora to come to Smash Bros. With that being said, with how Kingdom Hearts goes to many different worlds, and lately going to a completely different reality, along with Final Fantasy XIV story doing something similar, I don't doubt there is a way for them to cross over both the Kingdom Hearts world and the Final Fantasy XIV world. With all that out of the way, let's start talking about what types of items would best fit as rewards for this hypothetical crossover. Let's start with minions and mounts. I'm combining these two together because a couple of these could work as both, like for example, Meow Wow. The adorable cat-dog hybrid would be a perfect addition to 14 as a minion, but also a mount. It already has an adorable idle animation that would work wonderfully. They wouldn't even have to do much work on it, considering that the fat cat already has a similar idle animation. I've talked about this plenty of times on my stream, and I still stand by it. A gummy ship, specifically the main gummy ship that Sora, Donald, and Goofy fly around in, would make an amazing mount. I think this could also work as a minion as well. Its idle animation could be it doing the spin from Kingdom Hearts 2 and 3, or it just shoots gummy ship weapons. Now I know this next minion might be a bit difficult to pull off lore-wise, as I explained earlier with Nomura being very particular, but an easy solution would be to make wind-up versions. I say this because imagine having your very own Chirithy follow you around. Speaking of wind-ups, literally any Kingdom Hearts character could work as a minion, but I'm just going to go ahead and say any of the original Kingdom Hearts characters would work well. So characters like Sora, Riku, Kairi, Axel, and Xion, not characters like Donald, Goofy, and Mickey. The Kingdom Hearts world is vast and full of many different enemies. Heartless, nobodies, unversed, bugs.
Mickey! It's Riku! They put bugs in him!
What?
And really any of them would work as minions and mounts. But I think the clear winner here has to be the Shadow Heartless. These are the first enemies you fight in Kingdom Hearts, and they are probably the most iconic enemy in the Kingdom Hearts franchise. This would probably have to be a wind-up version of the Shadow Heartless, since I don't think having a tamed Heartless is a thing, unless you're full of darkness and you can control them. Now these next ones I think would really only work exclusively as mounts. A really cool idea I had was a Keyblade armor mount. Maybe Sid sees Aqua, Terra, and Ventus's Keyblade gliders and decides to make our Warriors of Light a similar piece of equipment to help us on our journey. A couple of other ideas I had were Kingdom Hearts 1 versions of Behemoth. Since we already have a Behemoth mount in Final Fantasy XIV, it wouldn't be that hard to implement. Personally, I wouldn't mind it being a reskin since reskin mounts are already a thing in 14, so it just makes perfect sense to me. Alright, now that we got mounts and minions out of the way, let's move on to glam items. Now 14 has many different classes and jobs, and a lot of them already work really well in the Kingdom Hearts franchise. Marluxia's Scythe for Reaper, Larxene's Knives for Ninja, Zaldin's Spears for Dragoons, Zexion's Book for Scholars, and even Luxord's Cards for Astrologian. But then you have classes like Bard and Sage that don't really have a Kingdom Hearts equivalent that would work well with those classes. Now don't get me wrong, I'm sure that they can come up with some sort of original Kingdom Hearts themed design for these classes, but other than teeny ships for Sage or this bow and arrow from this Heartless, there isn't much to work with in terms of bringing items from the franchise to 14. But for everything else, including what I mentioned earlier, you have Axel's Chakrams for Dancer, Zigbar's Guns for Machinist. Basically all the Organization 13 members have weapons that would work really well in Final Fantasy XIV. Out of all the possible crossover ideas I do think this one is the least likely to happen, just because not every job works seamlessly, and it would be weird if only certain jobs could get gear directly from the game and others didn't. Besides weapons, I have some awesome ideas for possible gear items that they could bring. Papu fruit and sea salt ice cream earrings, Wayfinder or the Kingdom Hearts crown necklace, Organization 13 cloaks, and probably the one gear item I think that would make every Kingdom Hearts fan that isn't already playing 14 play the game is Sora shoes. So if you played Final Fantasy XIV, you probably already know that Nier Automata has a crossover in the game. I think a Kingdom Hearts raid series would be the thing that I want them to do the most if they were to do a crossover. I know some people would hate the idea of having another game that they need to play in order to understand the entire Kingdom Hearts story and lore. And while I do agree it can be a bit overwhelming for some and costly for others, I don't think the idea should be written off. Soon more than half of Final Fantasy XIV will be available for free to anybody with a PS4, PS5, PC, and recently announced Xbox. The only problem with the raid series coming to Final Fantasy XIV is that the earliest that it could possibly happen would be in Dawn Trail, since the raid series only happen in the patch quests of each expansion, which at that point you would have to already have purchased Shadowbringers and Endwalker and Dawn Trail and also pay a sub. But just to humor the idea, I could see a normal raid and an Alliance raid work really well for a Kingdom Hearts crossover. For the Alliance raids, you have the Dive to the Heart, where each fight could take place on a different station. Maybe we get to see some of our favorite Final Fantasy XIV characters have their own station. Other ideas also include the Realm of Darkness, the Data Worlds, the Final World, just really like any original Kingdom Hearts world I think would work well. This video won't go into detail about how these worlds would fit in while keeping the Kingdom Hearts canon intact, as well as it fitting into the 14 canon, but maybe that's a video that I could work on at some other point, but for now I'm just throwing out ideas. Now originally for this next part of the video, I was going to talk about which orchestrations would work really well in Final Fantasy XIV, but honestly there's just too many to list. I mean, we have Dearly Beloved, A Wave of Darkness, 13 Struggle, Rage Awakened, Rise of the Union, Swim This Way, the list goes on and on. So instead, I'll end the video with which emotes I think would be really nice to have. I think the best one would be Axel's Got It Memorized gesture that he does. I know a lot of people, me included, that would spam this emote over and over and annoy all of our friends with it. A couple of other good ones are the Gummy Phone that Sora uses in Kingdom Hearts 3. Could easily swap that out with the phone emote that we already have in Final Fantasy XIV. And maybe even an emote of us drawing in like a sketchbook like Naminé does. Of course, all of these are just thoughts and ideas that I had. I wouldn't be upset if the Kingdom Hearts crossover never happened. Although, with Yoshi P stating that this past FanFest he plans on staying committed to Final Fantasy XIV for basically the rest of his life, I wouldn't put it beyond the possibility of a Kingdom Hearts crossover actually happening. If you have any more ideas that you would like to add on to mine, please feel free to post them in the comment section. Thank you for reaching the end of this video of what is essentially my wish list of a Kingdom Hearts crossover happening in Final Fantasy XIV. If you like this video and like to see more, make sure to like and subscribe. I make a lot of Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy, and just general RPG related content. You can also check out my Twitch channel as well. I stream there most days, and I stream Final Fantasy XIV daily. See you next time, my fellow Guardians and Warriors of Light.